We are privileged tonight, though, to meet some alumni in person, and I'm so excited to be able to introduce you to our wonderful panelists. First of all, we have Jacob Zuniga. He is with Northwestern Mutual, and he is a financial representative there. He graduated Seaver class of 2000 and then finished law school in 2003, correct? So help me welcome Jacob. We also have Sylvia Franson here with us today, and she graduated class of 87, is that right? And she works with NBC Universal. She's the vice president of ad sales there, and so we'll be hearing a little bit about her journey and story tonight. Welcome, Sylvia. And then last, but certainly not least, we have Darnell Briscoe, who's joined us here tonight. He works with McBeard Media, and I'm going to mess up the title, so can you fill it in for me?
Creative director?
Creative director, okay.
Yeah.
I thought there were a few more words in there, but creative director for McBeard Media, social media marketing firm here in Los Angeles. So we are going to dive right in. We have a short program tonight, and so want to hear as much as we can from our alumni. Let me hop up in my chair here. I don't know how you do this gracefully. Hopefully I won't fall. So we're going to go ahead and start out by just asking each of you to tell us a little bit more about yourselves and sort of your story. Where did you grow up? How did you discover Pepperdine? And what have you been doing since your days spent here on this campus? And maybe we can start with Jacob and just sort of make our way down the line.
Well, first of all, I just want to say how happy I am to be here. It's such a pleasure to always come back to campus, and I'm pretty sure it's my first time back in Elkins since I took humanities, so a few upgrades since then. But didn't grow up too far away from here. Grew up in Whittier, California, which has the dubious honor of being Richard Nixon's hometown. And found out about Pepperdine actually from my older sister, who's about almost 5 years older than me. And when she was exploring college, she brought home a pamphlet and brought Pepperdine to my attention. And from there on, it was on my radar. And came to Seaver in '96 and graduated in 2000 with the political science degree, and then went straight up the hill to the law school and graduated in 2003 and started right away my law practice in family law, and then eventually transitioned into more commercial related work, commercial litigation, labor and employment work when I moved to Atlanta. And then moved back to LA after spending some time in Atlanta and started working with my firm's office here, and then ultimately felt a tremendous calling on my heart to leave the practice of law after 11 years and start a financial planning practice with Northwestern Mutual. And so that's where I am now. I'm married to a fellow Wave, graduated in 2002, Caroline, and we have a daughter, Cecilia May, who's 2 years old. Future Wave.
All right, okay, a little bit better. So hi, I'm Sylvia Franson, and I also grew up in Whittier. We just found out tonight. Small town, home of Richard Nixon. My high school, they taped, Back to the Future. And I came to Pepperdine through my church, Church of Christ in Whittier. I didn't know about Pepperdine. And they basically said, yeah, you're going to come here. And I wasn't on my radar, came, visited the campus, and wow, talk about being called to a place. Only college that I applied to, got early acceptance, and I was sold when I saw the beachfront property. Having grown up in Whittier, and now coming over, I got into Spanish language television. I'm a first generation Mexican American, and so I recall telling my mom, "Gosh, back to the never say never. Gosh, I'm just never going to work in Spanish television because it's just not good quality." Well, when I graduated from Pepperdine, that was my first job, was with my competitor, and it really was a great opportunity to make a difference within Spanish language television and have a say and make it better quality programming and really have an influence. So, who knew? And then after that, I went over to the competition, which is Telemundo. We're owned by NBC Universal, and I've been there for quite some time. We've had 5 different owners, 5 different logos, and a lot of senior management. But I've managed to stay and evolve within the company and grow. It actually took me, pretty much all over the United States. I got to be part of the Olympics. I went to Athens Olympics, and we just got the rights to the FIFA World Cup, so I'm looking forward to Rio de Janeiro. That's sort of my story on how I got here. I am married, and I have 2 kids that are in high school, and they're scouting out colleges, so go Waves. And my husband just opened up a winery in Orange County, so you guys are all too young for that. But it's been a really fun venture, and part of what I learned really starting here has really helped out with that venture that we're doing now. So that's my story.
And I'm Darnell Briscoe. I graduated here in 2009, so not too long ago, actually. I grew up in Los Angeles, in Gardena, kind of by LAX, the South Bay local kid. And my dad actually went to Pepperdine here, and so I knew about Pepperdine through my family. I didn't plan on coming to Pepperdine. I applied a lot of other places. But when I figured out that I was into advertising, into marketing, and that was the thing that I wanted to do, and discovered that Pepperdine had an advertising major, that was one of the big draws for me. And so I came here in 2004, and I got involved in just about everything I could. Worked in a handful of different jobs, student activities and student affairs. I sang with the a cappella group here, One by One, while I was here for 4 years. And I met through Pepperdine 2 mentors who really helped shape my career. When I was here in 2005, Facebook launched, and Pepperdine was one of 13 colleges to have Facebook. So there was 11 schools on the East Coast and 2 schools on the West Coast, Stanford and Pepperdine, and there were closed networks. So you could only be Facebook friends with people at Pepperdine. And of course, Pepperdine being a small school and me being an outgoing guy, I dove into Facebook as much as I could and tried to have as many friends as I could. And as that became something that was more than just a social network, it became a place where brands and conversations were living. My 2 mentors kind of saw that opportunity, and they decided right as I was graduating to start a social media agency. And so I work for a company called McBeard Media, which maybe some of you have heard of because maybe we have hired some of your friends. We have our company is about 5 years old, and we just hit 100 people and have about 40 or so Pepperdine alumni that work for us. And so maybe some of your friends or people, brothers or sisters, work for us potentially. But yeah, and so now I've been working for this company for 5 years and seen it grow from just the 3 of us, starting with our first client and our first project was this movie that 20th Century Fox made. It was a Twilight spoof called Vampires Suck. And the whole movie leaked online 3 days before the first trailer came out. And so the studio said, you guys are a new agency, you guys don't have any experience, but the whole movie's out, so here's a budget, here's some video assets, here's some photos, go for it and see if you can do something. And that turned into us now working for every studio in town, as well as brands like Coca-Cola and Fiat and others, and just working with some of the biggest brands in the world, creating daily content on social media. So that's what I've been doing.
Thank you each for sharing your stories. How many of you in the room know what you're going to do when you graduate? Okay, a few hands. I like that. How many of you have some ideas about what you might hope to do when you graduate? How many of you thought you would be doing what you're doing today when you graduated? All right. Case in point, plans change, and that's okay. It's great to have a plan. It's great to have strategies and ideas about where you're headed and how you're going to get there. But plans do sometimes change, and I think we'll maybe hear a little bit about that as we go forward. So during your student years at Pepperdine, did you ever have a sense of calling that developed, or sort of a sense of where you were going to go and what particular vocation or career you were going to pursue? And then how did that change? How did that transition as you pursued different roles along the way? And maybe this time we can start with Sylvia and make our way back around.
When I got into to Pepperdine, well, growing up, I wanted to be two things. One was a teacher, right? I think everybody wants to be like a teacher. And then I wanted to be a news anchor. I wanted to be a TV reporter, but what I really wanted to be was like Oprah Winfrey. So I wanted to have a talk show host and or be a talk show hostess and so on. So that's really what my focus was. So I'm studying at Pepperdine, and I realized that I really don't want to be on air. That I really wanted to be on more of the business side of things. So I did work for KMBU, the radio station, and I did partner up with one of my friends to do Malibu magazine. That was short-lived. And then I really realized, I love the entertainment field, but not on air. And I thought, what can I do where I can teach, and I can be in the field that I love, and I can work with people, and I can mentor. So I got into the business side of things, which was sales. And the interesting thing is that my degree was actually in broadcasting, sales and management. So I was kind of doing what I said I was going to do, just didn't think that that's what I would end up doing. So, what this has provided me is really a platform, a wide platform to teach and to mentor in a whole nother way. I'm not a teacher, but I am a teacher in many ways. So you're not going to have it figured out immediately, and there is a calling. And my calling was to be in sales, to sell a product, but what I really was doing there is mentoring all the people that worked for me, so that they can be promoted and so they can grow in their careers. And I look at it, here I am today, because of that. So I'm sort of, what I do for a living is also what I do on the side. What I volunteer for. So it's a lovely journey, but sometimes it's just it happens, and I think it sort of just happened that way for me.
For me, growing up with a love of music, I thought that maybe I wanted to be a jingle writer, but that's not really a thing anymore. People don't really listen to jingles. People don't really listen to the radio, for that matter. But I knew I loved writing, and when as I was kind of looking at what are some of the roles and jobs that come with marketing, copywriting was something that was really interesting to me, and so I wanted to be a copywriter. I wanted to hone that craft to write the just do it of my generation or that kind of thing. And I didn't expect myself to end up necessarily in social media. I thought that maybe I'd go the big traditional route instead of starting a small agency with two guys, and I thought that maybe I'd work for a brand, maybe I'd find and work in-house and be a copywriter there. But I think the thing that most interests me about copywriting, and more so the angle of advertising that appealed to me as opposed to selling something, is the simple question that we ask ourselves every day and feels so ingrained with social. And instead of asking the question, what will people buy, it's what will people share? And what will you share today? What's your story? What's a story worth telling? What's something worth sharing? And I feel like that probably is a theme that resonates across Pepperdine's campus. I feel like that is telling your story and kind of finding your purpose is something that I feel like was something that was instilled in me definitely, or at least heightened during my time here at Pepperdine.
Well, I pretty much knew that I was going to be a lawyer since I was in third grade, and so that was the drive once I got here. And went to law school, and that all happened. But after practicing for several years, for me, the practice became very unfulfilling, and I just felt like God had a bigger purpose for me out there, and this opportunity came to start a financial planning practice and take everything I loved about being a lawyer, which was building relationships with my clients, digging into facts to come up with strategies and solutions. But instead of doing it in a context of a lawsuit or negotiating a contract, it was actually adding value to the people that I'm working with. And now I have an opportunity to take that skill set and knowledge base and really come alongside people to help them be good financial stewards of their of God's blessings and to help them achieve financial security. And so I'm definitely have taken a bit of a departure from where I thought I was going to be, even when I started Pepperdine and even several years after. And quite frankly, this isn't even the end for me. I have aspirations to run for office at some point, since I was a political science major, and that's still a goal of mine. And so I'm going to take all of this life's experience and eventually roll it up into public service. And so the story continues.
As it will for each of you. So this is certainly not the end of your story. If you're getting ready to graduate in a couple weeks, it's just the beginning, and there's so much exciting potential out there, and hope that you will take advantage of this community and the people who want to come alongside you on that journey, whether it's your first year or your last. We're here to support you along the way, and there's lots of people in our larger Pepperdine family and community who want to be part of that. Our Pepperdine mission talks about us as a community being committed to the highest standards of academic excellence and Christian values. And we are all here, I'm here, to help you develop a sense of purpose and service and leadership in your life, and to develop the skills that you need to go out and apply those in the world. So for each of you here today, how would you say this mission or elements of it, and you can pick which one if one of the three you want to focus on, how has that impacted your approach to life or to your career? And that can be broader than career if it needs to be. How have those kind of elements of purpose, service, and leadership influenced your life?
I would say, of the three, thinking about it professionally, service is probably one that I find most often. Being in the advertising field, it feels like there's an old saying that all advertising work would be, or all work in general would be amazing if there were no clients. Because clients can sometimes be a little difficult. They can be a lot difficult at times. Sometimes they just have views about things that you disagree on. But ultimately, it's a service. And for us, the thing that we want to do is help them realize their goals and help them build awareness and share their message. And so for us, I feel like service has been one that has not only been super applicable, but has been something that's allowed us to stand out. Both of my mentors and the guys who started the agency I work for, both are Pepperdine alum as well. And I feel like of the things that make us different than other agencies, though there's some creative aspects and maybe some of the things we do that are a little different, the way that we treat each other and the way that we treat the clients, the way that the dependability, I would even say the fruits of the Spirit kind of are directly or indirectly evident in the way that we work with our clients, and I think that's really made a difference.
I would say, I'm fortunate to really have all three in my life. As vice president of the West Coast, I'm a leader, and I think I'm probably just a natural leader. But it's so true to who I am, and it helps me then to lead to my purpose. I found my purpose. Most people, have to go to work. I get to go to work. I get to go to NBC Universal. I get to go work on the Universal Studios lot. And I get to work with an amazing group of people who I'm able to serve by helping them grow. In this position, it's allowed me to open a lot of doors. I'm still very, very close friends with my college roommate. She would probably agree that we're probably best friends to this day. She was always the little sister I never had. I did have an older sister who also went to Pepperdine. But, and her niece is here today, and she is interning with us. So, that's the kind of support that we're here for. I do a lot of hiring, as Jacob and Darnell do. Hire a lot of Pepperdine people. I go to Dr. Rosencrantz pitches, and then I poach them, and I have them come and work, with me. And what I see is future leaders and people who are really going to make a difference and hopefully find their purpose. Back to Jacob's point, the book is still being written, and this is one additional chapter in my life.
Yeah, for me, it really started, back in my undergrad days with Step Forward Day, and just really seeing the impact that you can have through those concerted efforts in the community. And so, after I graduated, I really, looked for various opportunities on how I could, give back in the particular role that I was in. When I was in Atlanta, my firm, we partnered with an organization where we would go to the elementary schools and read to children, and building a relationship with the kids on that level who maybe didn't have that at home. To now here in Los Angeles, serving on the board of a nonprofit that works to empower homeless people through running, or serving my community as leading in political organizations, whatever the case may be. I just was always trying to pray and discern how I could use my position to give back and serve the community, and just to be able to connect with people on that level as I did back when we did Step Forward Day.
I love one of the things that they each touch on is just that so much of the work they do day to day is with people, right? And so whatever job you end up doing, whatever path you end up taking, you have the opportunity to influence people around you, to love them, to serve them, to inspire them, to coach them along and encourage them along toward their purpose and journey. And sometimes I think we get constrained in our thinking about how we can make an impact in the world, or how we can make a difference or live out our faith in our work. And I think that it's actually much easier than we realize, because it's just about being in community with people and living like Christ did in community with people. And the people you work with are the people you're with day in and day out, right? 40, 50, 60 hours a week, depending on what industry you're in. And so it's a great opportunity to serve and to love people in that space. So can each of you tell us a little bit about perhaps a setback or a disappointment that you had in your life or career path since graduation? We recognize that it's not always smooth sailing. You guys have had great success. You've become wonderful leaders in your areas, but I'm sure there have been some road bumps along the way, some speed bumps along the way. Would you mind just sharing with us a little bit about maybe something you encountered and how you navigated that? Maybe Sylvia, you can say.
I had a personal setback, and you kind of have to choose whether you're going to let that be debilitated by that, or you're going to forge and maybe be an inspiration for other people. But you gotta make that decision, and you gotta go with whatever that is. And so it was a personal setback, and I chose joy instead. And I continued on doing what I was doing, and I think today I feel so grateful that from the outside people look at you and think that if it's all perfect, and a lot of us are walking around with a lot of experiences that then help to shape us. But I think what it does is that it allows other people to see you as human, and including your family and your kids, and that they see you get up, dust yourself off, and just keep on going. What I think happened there for me is that I was able to do that, as hard as it was. But today I'm grateful because that setback happened about a decade ago, and I was able to just keep on keeping. And my kids see it today, and I think that, when I think about where I grab that strength, it's definitely in my faith, my family, and I'm inspired by other people, and I want to, be an inspiration back to them. So, life it's going to happen. Things are going to happen, good and bad, and it's really how you choose what you choose to do with that adversity, and then how you can help others with it.
For me, I would say it's a little bit similar, but I think a big part of or a big learning moment for me at least is discovering where your purpose is. I think all of us would say that our careers are important to us, but I would also think that everyone on this panel would also say that careers are not the most important thing to us. And it's really easy to get caught up in that, whether it's a small mistake or a big mistake, or sometimes all of the above. For me, a typo that goes up on a Facebook page for some brand could be really, really bad. A few letters could change the course of what something was intended to say, and could be really offensive, really harmful, that kind of thing. To making mistakes internally, to making a bad decision, whether that was a bad hire or someone that you have to let go, or wrong instruction maybe that you gave them that led them down the path that wasn't something the client wanted. Being able to give yourself grace and being able to giving others grace around you, both people that you work with, as well as the clients you work with, and knowing that ultimately at the end of the day, that's not where your purpose is, that's not where your joy lies, because if your career becomes your only measure for success, then you'll never reach it.
So I've mentioned a couple of times that I lived in Atlanta, and the reason for that is my wife. That's where my wife is from, and so I knew that once we started dating, that eventually, or engaged, I guess, really, that I'd end up back there, and so we moved back there, and always intended on staying there and becoming a Southern gentleman for the rest of my life. But when we would come back to visit LA, we just felt a calling to come back. And so we lifted that up, to God, and said, if there's an opportunity to come, we'll follow. And sure enough, my law firm opened an office in Los Angeles the following year, and then the firm came to me and said, hey, do you want to go to the West Coast and build a business litigation practice group? And I said, absolutely, this is a tremendous opportunity, and came out. This was now back in 2009, and hit the ground running, trying to make a name for myself. And to make a long story short, the opportunity just wasn't as great as I thought it was going to be. The focus seemed to move elsewhere. I felt like very isolated working out here because the team I was working with, the team of lawyers, were still back in Atlanta. I wasn't getting the support we needed to grow as I thought we were going to, and I just kind of hit a wall and started really questioning my career and my purpose. And ultimately, after praying about it and trying to discern my situation, I realized that what I was in, what God had me in, was really a preparation stage, and that this was not the end, and this was just a season. And then that's when this opportunity came to start my financial planning practice, and everything was made clear. So really, because what I'm trying to say is that you should feel like you're in a setback, to really kind of look at it from the perspective of okay, what is God trying to do through this, and then have the faith that you're going to get through it and take you somewhere else.
Thank you. I know you're not here to hear from me, but I'm also an alum. And, I just wanted to add that, one of the best things that ever happened to me was not getting a job that I really thought I wanted, because it opened up the opportunity for me to get to do what I'm doing now, that I really love, and where I've been able to flourish in areas I would never have been able to flourish in. in that other role. So I know that so many people have similar stories. And what I think is exciting about you graduating and going out into the marketplace or heading to graduate school or going to serve in the years ahead is that the things that you'll be doing in life and in society don't even exist today. The jobs that you'll be doing 10, 15, 20 years from now haven't even been dreamed up yet. And I think that's so exciting to think about. And I want to encourage you and challenge you to stay focused on your dreams, but to also stay open to happenstance and stay open to God's plan for your life and stay open to the things that you can't imagine happening today because they don't line up with your plan. I think that some of the greatest moments of wonder and of God's provision in our lives happen in those moments of uncertainty and of happenstance, of a chance meeting or an open door that you can't imagine today. So I just want to encourage you in that and encourage you to stay open as you pursue your lives and your careers.
I want to add to that about God's plan. Really, do not underestimate God's plan for you. It is much greater and better than our plan for ourselves. What we don't see in front of us will be revealed in its time, and you just have to trust that there's a plan. A door closes and you have no idea why it closes, and sometimes you have no idea why a door opens. But it's, stay true to God's plan. It's much greater than ours.
Well, so maybe each of you can share with me a little bit about what value you think purposeful servant leaders with Christian values bring uniquely to the marketplace and to the workforce. Is that valuable in today's market? I mean, is that valuable in society today? And if so, to what degree or why?
Yeah, I think Darnell actually hit on it already. That's grace, just to be able to, show that grace to coworkers and the folks that you're working with. And I think there is value in that because, particularly as it relates to your coworkers, I think by extending grace, it's going to increase morale. It's going to create a culture that you're working in and living in, and which will increase morale, increase retention, increase your desire to want to be somewhere. And so I think grace is a huge piece part of that.
One of my team members walked into my office the other day, and she just said, thank you. I was like, oh, okay, for what? And she said, thank you because you are a woman of God, and we needed a woman of God to be the leader of this place. It's made a difference in the way we treat people. It makes a difference in grace. Makes all the difference in that the golden rule, right? Treat others like you want to be treated. There's there's serious ethical issues in corporate America, and when you're guided by a spiritual, higher spiritual. It makes all the difference in the way an office culture is run. So I would say that sure, we need values, we need morals, and we need our leaders to be people of God.
I think you hit on it exactly, especially for me in Hollywood, especially there are the moral compass just isn't there. There are so many unethical people, and the thing that is so refreshing and so freeing by having Christ-centered leaders that I can trust and Christ-centered people around me is that trust. Being able to know that someone has your back in the workplace, knowing that they are going to be honest and upfront with you, and even with clients, that you are dependable, that you are honest, that you're not shortchanging them, that you're doing the best work to your ability, and that ultimately you are working there to make the people around you better, makes all the difference. It allows you to tap into things and take risks and create so much better end products than you could have with the fear and paralysis of knowing that someone isn't looking out for you and that they could chop your legs out from under you or stab you in the back at a moment's notice. So I think that trust is a big thing.
Well, I wanted to make sure to give you some time, each of you, to just talk about any lessons learned from life, career. Obviously, these students have so much ahead of them. If you were looking back at your younger self, do you have either lessons learned or advice that you would give, encouragement that you would give to them as they pursue their passions and their studies, their travels, all the things that you get to be a part of here at Pepperdine?
How many people here came with friends? Like, who's sitting here next to someone they know? Perfect. It's going to be easy. In your professional life, surround yourself with people, surround yourself with good people. Finding a mentor, finding good friends, people that will push you, is probably the best advice I can give you. There's different studies and versions of it, but essentially the idea is the same. That the four people around you that you spend the most time with, you are going to become a hybrid of those people. So if you look at the people to your left, to your right, the people that you talk to the most, I'm sure you can think of phrases that you guys say the same, or timing in the way you say something, or shorthand that you have, and the conversations that you have. You become the people that you are around. And so if you can surround yourself with 3 to 4 people that are interesting, that are smarter than you, that have a different perspective than you, and that are good people, that is for sure one of the keys, at least that I've found in my professional success.
Yeah, I mean, I would say just to, understand that throughout your careers, once you leave Pepperdine, that doors are going to open and close. Some may not never open, but just understand that you're equipped to do some great things. That this university has equipped you to do some awesome things out there, and to not be discouraged if things don't go quite the way you think they will, and just do what you know how to do best, and the doors will eventually open, and it'll be the door that God wants you to walk through.
And I would say, you're gonna be okay. You're going to be okay. Again, back to the purpose, and find their purpose and find your passion, where you can say, I get to do X, Y, Z, not I have to. Really look, be flexible. I think that's one of the things that has allowed me to flourish in my career, is that, I've been through a lot of change in my company, and, there's times when so much change is happening, and you have to be open to it. Great things happen when you're open to change and to doing things differently. Years ago, we didn't have social media, and I was talking to Darrell earlier, and I thought, oh my gosh, we didn't have the internet and LinkedIn and all of that. You do. You have all those amazing resources. Pepperdine being one of your strongest resources. The family, your friends, use us. Reach out. But know that you're going to be okay. But I would say find that passion and go after it relentlessly.
I was waiting for more. Well, maybe tell me a little bit. We focused a lot tonight on talking about career and work and jobs, and how that relates to sort of where students might be at today, or maybe in a few years from now. How do you extend kind of your calling and your purpose beyond your job? You mentioned some organizations you're involved with, but how does your purpose and your calling extend beyond your day job? Because obviously it's about who you are as a person and the life you're living, which is much greater than just a job, just where you show up sort of 40 hours a week. But maybe just share with us a little bit about other ways you've connected to community, or you've kind of pursued your purpose outside of work.
So I also volunteer for several charities, but one that's really near and dear to my heart, and it's called Girls Inc. And it's all about inspiring girls to be strong, smart, and bold. I spend a lot of time with young girls. It's very preventive. It's 4.5 years old to high school, to 17, 18 years old. And I spend a lot of time talking about self-esteem, talking about personal development, about dressing for success, about behaviors, about body image. I mean, a lot. I get to use my career to talk about that. I think that's sort of a little bit beyond, because I get to say, yeah, I work for the entertainment business. That's what we see every day. But and I get to use that forum to open doors for these girls to say, these magazines, they're not everything. They're airbrushed. Being able to kind of connect both. And really empower. And I also have a son. So I have a daughter and a son. And I also do spend some time with the big brothers. And my son has a big heart for mentoring too. So I think sometimes they just learn by example. It's nothing I've asked them to do. So I'm really about growing people, male, female, doesn't matter, all ethnicities. It's really just helping people to be their very best, serving others using my shape and how I was shaped, figuratively, not literally, but the leadership part of it, the passion and the ability to open doors for a lot of people.
So I mentioned moving back from Atlanta for what I thought was a job opportunity, and something that I was really going to be able to grow in. And ultimately, the calling of bringing my wife and I back to LA was, in my view, at least from what I'm seeing right now, was to really be a part of what God is doing here in LA. And so when we moved back, we got hooked up with a church plant. Actually, it was before they even launched the church, and we launched this church about 4 years ago with about 20 people. And in over the last 4 years, we've grown to about 600 people in 2 locations, and God's just really moving. And so through that, I've been able to serve within the church as the treasurer. And so now with this whole career transition, I have an opportunity to start a ministry through the church about financial stewardship, and just kind of be that that person that can help people in that way, and just be a part of what God is doing here in Los Angeles. And so ultimately, looking back, I can see that's why I'm back in LA, is really to help transform this city for His kingdom, and and I get to use my career and everything I'm doing now, in that regard, where as a lawyer I wouldn't really be able to do that. So.
And yeah, I would say my story is actually a little bit similar to yours in that I was able to get involved with the church plant. I lived down in San Diego for the last 3 years, up until this last year while my wife was doing grad school, and so we got involved in a church plant there, and I was just able to use, I think being open and being flexible to being used was a big blessing for the church, but also for my wife and I. And so I was able to be a part of the music ministry there, having the music background while I was here at Pepperdine, as well as help with publicity, because it was a nice young church, and social media was a way to reach people who are looking for a church. And so being able to lend my talents outside of that, and just being open and flexible to being used however I can serve was one of the ways that I got plugged in.
Well, do each of you have any just closing comments you'd like to share with the group before we close out our night?
Well, I'm impressed that y'all are here on a Thursday evening at almost 8 o'clock now, and so I want to thank you for taking the time to come out here and hear our stories. And I just hope that whether it was graduating in 87, 2000, or 2009, that there's some wisdom that you can take away from our words, and apply it to your lives, and just do some awesome things out there. Go Waves.
Yeah, I agree. With Jacob, it's a true privilege to be here tonight, and thank you guys for your time. Like I said, I get inspired by a lot of different people along the way of my journey, and seeing you guys show up today, wanting to learn more, is an inspiration. If someone would have told me X number of years ago, when I was sitting here in Elkins Auditorium, that I would be right here, I wouldn't have believed it. And that's, talking about my journey, my story. You guys all have an incredible story ahead. So, keep on keeping on.
One of the things I love about people from Pepperdine that makes it easier to hire Pepperdine people, because they understand what being a Pepperdine person is, that people outside of Pepperdine don't get. And it's, I would say for me, sometimes being a Christian or being someone of faith, you get a little bit of a bad rap at being someone who's maybe a little soft or a little bit of a pushover. And I've been so inspired by the men and women that I've worked with of faith that go hard, that hustle, that are some of the most diligent and hardworking people that I know. People who really truly believe that they are conquerors and that they can do everything through Christ who gives them strength. And so I would just challenge you guys to continue to do that. I have no doubt that you guys, being Pepperdine people, are going to be those people who go out and surprise people and shock people and change the world by the people you are and the way that you go about your business.
Well, please join me in thanking our panelists tonight. I think that each of them will be here for a couple minutes afterwards if you have personal questions you'd like to come and ask them, or any of our team or staff here. But thank you so much for being here tonight, and we wish you the best as you wrap up the semester. Take care.